What's up everyone, welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Dana White furious with pound for pound rankings. Late Monday night, the UFC's pound for pound rankings were updated after UFC 309, with the only changes being Charles Oliveira entering in at number 15 and replacing Israel Adesanya. In the top 3, Jon Jones, who was ranked number 3 before UFC 309, and Alex Pereira, who was ranked number 2, swapped places, and Islam Makhachev still remains as ranked number 1 on the pound for pound list. Make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Dana White wasn't too happy with these changes, as we're guessing he would have wanted Jon Jones to be ranked number 1 on the list. He took to Instagram sharing the rankings with the following caption: "I have to get rid of these clowns. Mark Zuckerberg, let's get this AI deal done ASAP." What are your thoughts on the rankings? Do you think that Jon Jones deserved to be number 1 pound for pound over Islam Makhachev? Let us know down in the comment section below. Well, it looks like Alex Pereira also agrees with Dana White on the pound for pound rankings. Alex posted this picture on his story with Jon Jones as number 1 ranked and Islam Makhachev is ranked number 2 with the following caption: "With this change only, I would be already happy. Tom Aspinall confirms fight with Jon Jones will happen." After Jon Jones' win on Saturday night, it's clear that the MMA world wants to see Jones fight Tom Aspinall for the undisputed championship, even though there's plenty of uncertainty surrounding the potential fight, with Jones saying that he doesn't need a fight with Aspinall and is really only interested in fighting Alex Pereira. Aspinall sounded pretty confident that a fight does wind up happening. On Monday's episode of the Ariel Helwani Show, Aspinall weighed in on a fight between him and Jones. John's being a sassy little flirt over there with everybody, and it's great. It's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, and this fight is gonna happen, man. Obviously, there's a lot of negotiation to do. Obviously, of course, that's the way that the world works, especially at this level, but I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. Even though Jones has not shown much interest in the fight, Aspinall thinks that deep down, it bothers Jones that people think he can beat him. And because of that, he actually does want to fight. I think he secretly wants it. He has a gigantic ego, and he should have, because he's one of the best fighters ever, and he hates the fact that people are saying I can beat him. He can't sleep at night. He keeps mentioning over and over again that he doesn't care about me. He thinks he's above me and all that, because this is all projecting. Deep down, he knows. What Jones did say after his win over Stipe Miocic was that if the UFC gave him few money, he'd fight Aspinall, which Ariel Helwani thinks could be a sign that Turkey Al-Sheikh and the Saudi Public Investment Fund could be the missing piece to getting a deal done. If Turkey says to them, here's a $50 million check, do it in Saudi next year, the money is there. The money and then some is there. You don't think Turkey wants this fight in Saudi? You know what I mean? They would do that tomorrow for money. They would gladly contribute to that money. Needless to say, if the fight does happen, it could wind up being one of the biggest heavyweight title fights in UFC history. Bo Nickal not happy with UFC 309 commentary team. Throughout Bo Nickal and Paul Craig's fight on Saturday, both fighters struggled to impose their will on one another. Even though Nickal is an accomplished wrestler and Craig has a highlight reel of submissions from throughout his career, the fight played out on the feet with neither fighter showcasing their grappling skills. Even though the kickboxing match between these two grapplers was way more entertaining than the infamous stand-up battle between Damian Maia and Ben Askren, fans in attendance booed. On top of that, Daniel Cormier said during the broadcast that after seeing Nickal and Craig fight, he didn't think Bo was ready for a fight with Khamzat Chimaev. On Monday's episode of the Ariel Helwani Show, he reacted after watching the fight back and listening to the commentary.
Something that was a little disappointing was the commentary. It made me feel like they didn't really know what was going on as much, because anybody that I've talked to, that people that I trust and know shoot straight with me, they're like, dude, you shut that guy out. Domination. It was a flawless victory. And to hear DC say, oh, he's not ready for Khamzat. And I think he was kind of trying to be respectful, but also trying to set me down a peg. But I just feel like the people that I know would give me honest, genuine feedback.
The fight also landed Nickal and Craig criticism from fighters like Jamal Hill and Bilal Muhammad online. At the post-fight presser, Dana White told media members that Nickal was dominant, but showed that he had work to do. From the sounds of things, Nickal will probably fight another unranked contender for his next bout before getting a step up in competition. UFC fighters scared to accept lawsuit payment. When the Levi Zuffa antitrust suit was settled for $375 million, it sounded like tons of fighters who fought for the UFC from 2010 to 2017 would get pretty big checks to compensate for the UFC's anti-competitive business practices. But from the sounds of things, some fighters who qualify but are still fighting are scared to claim their settlement payment because they're worried it might piss off the UFC. In a video posted on Monday, attorney Eric McGracken, who's been covering the case and putting things in terms that the average fan can understand, he talked about how Rose Gracie, the granddaughter of Helio Gracie and daughter of UFC founder Rorion Gracie, is saying that some fighters she's talked to are afraid to take their share of the settlement money.
Some UFC fighters are apparently scared to claim their money in the UFC antitrust settlement lawsuit. So check this out. The UFC's agreed to pay $375 million to make the Lee versus Zuffa antitrust class action lawsuit go away. They want to pay this money. They're asking the court to approve a settlement which forces them to pay this money. Rose Gracie has been speaking to dozens and dozens of fighters that are entitled to this money, telling them how to claim it, putting them in touch with the lawyers involved with the claim. And she's publicly put this out that some fighters are telling her they're scared to claim the money, that they don't want to piss off the UFC. Now, I shared this story on my social media, and a former UFC fighter, Roxanne Modafferi, responded, and she says she's now retired, she'd have no issue claiming the money, but if she was still an active fighter, she herself might be scared to claim the money. It's unfortunate if you're scared of the UFC, but let me say this very clearly. The UFC wants to pay this money. They want the court to approve the $375 million settlement. They do not want to go to trial. They want to pay the money, and if you don't claim the money, you're not doing the UFC any favors. The money does not go back to the UFC. So you're not going to be a good person and doing them favors in their books. You're just going to rip yourself off of money that you should have had coming your way during your career, and you're going to turn a blind eye to this settlement for no good reason. Don't do it.
If a bunch of fighters don't wind up claiming their settlement money, it'll be interesting to see if it winds up having any sort of impact on the other lawsuit against the UFC, if it winds up getting certified as a class action suit and goes to court like this one. Conor McGregor reacts to Michael Chandler fight. Michael Chandler's UFC record might be 2-4 now, but his fight with Charles Oliveira on Saturday was definitely entertaining. Considering Chandler had been on the sidelines for 2 years waiting for a scrap with Conor McGregor to happen, it wasn't a surprise when he called out McGregor again during his Octagon interview after Dana White said the former champ's return would likely be at the end of 2025. In a now deleted post on social media, McGregor reacted to Chandler's fight, joking about cutting him just like he did Mike Perry after he lost to Jake Paul. Cut Michael Chandler. Just kidding, good fight. Mad little fellow is Michael. I like him. Heading into the fight, Chandler planned to beat Oliveira and then fight Conor McGregor in January. Considering Chandler lost on Saturday, and Dana White is saying that McGregor's return would not be until late 2025, it sounds like there might be a chance that Iron Mike is back in action sometime early next year if he wants to stay active while waiting for Conor McGregor. Even though he lost, Chandler was compared to Arturo Gatti after the fight by Dana White, who said that win or lose, Chandler always tries to put on exciting fights and will always have a home with the UFC. Israel Adesanya calls out Bo Nickal for boring fight. On top of the commentary team sitting cage side saying that Bo Nickal's fight against Paul Craig was a sign that he is not ready for a big step up in competition, Israel Adesanya wasn't that impressed with Nickal either. The Last Stylebender did a reaction video for the card on his YouTube channel, sharing his thoughts on the fights throughout the night. When it came to Bo Nickal's 3-rounder with Paul Craig, Adesanya called the fight boring, explaining that Nickal does not really understand how to close the distance and set up shots yet. After being woken up from a mid-fight nap to share his thoughts, the former champion said, "It's a boring fight, that's all. He's letting it go away. Even when he hurt him, he's not comfortable on the feet. He looks good striking, but he's not comfortable. He hurt him, but he didn't know how to get close. Even just fake a takedown to get close and throw some combos. Finally got him at the end." At one point during the fight, the crowd started to chant overrated at Nickal, even though he's been open about the fact that he's pretty new to the sport and knows he still needs time to develop. Alex Pereira doing side quests in South Korea. After beating Khalil Roundtree, Alex Pereira said that even though he wants to fight in December, he has some sponsorship obligations that will keep him out of action until the new year. From the looks of things, Pereira's time off still includes some hard rounds of sparring. While in South Korea at a seminar this week, footage of Pereira sparring a Korean boxer started to circulate around the MMA world. While actor Don Lee and tons of others watched on, Pereira went toe-to-toe with another boxer for a hard round of sparring. Even though fight fans thought it was cool that Pereira got some rounds in, the footage caught the attention of Conor McGregor, who wasn't a fan. He reacted to the clip in a since-deleted tweet where he wrote, "Pointless." Pereira had said before that in an ideal world, he'd return to the octagon in March. The expectation is that his next fight will be against Magomed Ankalaev after the streaking contenders win over Alexander Rakic, but so far, no word on when and where that fight might happen. Dominick Cruz announces retirement fight in 2025. Dominick Cruz has been MIA since his 2022 loss to Chito Vera. While there'd been rumors about Cruz fighting this year, nothing came to fruition, leaving fans wondering whether after 2 years away, the former champion would ever return to the octagon. In an interview with TMZ Sports this week, Cruz announced that he wants to go out there and throw down in one final fight before riding off into the sunset. I'll tell you, I think I've got a last dance. I want one last dance in me. Just go out there and have fun. And when I say fun, I mean fight to the bitter death and see what I have in me. I wanted to get after it this year, but it's not looking like a matchup is getting negotiated exactly right the way it is. There's some guys out there who looked really good. The whole division is stacked, so it's been incredible to be a part of that division, but probably early next year is what's going to work and line up. Jon Anik quickly weighed in and suggested a rematch between Cruz and Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo v. Dominick Cruz 2. The post caught the attention of Triple C's manager Ali Abdelaziz, who wrote, "Easy money for Henry." Cruz then fired back with a post of his own, aimed at Abdelaziz. "You're simply a work mule. Your words hold no weight." Abdelaziz and Cruz then went on a heated back and forth. Ali said, "Also, one more thing. The only weight you hold is commentating on the desk. I promise you, I hold a lot more weight than you in this game." Cruz replied with, "It's easy money for you, as you get a percentage paid by your fighter no matter what, while you chat that you personally cannot back up. You have no skin in the game. That's what makes you weak." Abdelaziz replied, "I will make you a deal if you fight Henry. I will take 0% from Henry Cejudo. I just want to see him whoop your and I'm sure Henry will make a lot more money than you do. You have my word as a man. I will take 0%. Cruz fired back with a lengthy response. "Look at your big tough guy words on X. You're now talking about paying someone the percentage of money that you usually would steal from them just to fight me for you, solely because you yourself can't cash the checks you write with your big mouth. That's exactly my point. That's why you're a weakling. Henry's about as tiny a man in stature as you are mentally. You two deserve each other. You two birds with one stone sounds like a lovely day of humanitarian work." Ali ended the exchange with, "Now I see your feelings getting hurt. Hey, I'm not hard to find. Please, when you see me, say this to my face. You can't do about it, and nobody's worried about your midget do anything." When Anik told Abdelaziz to use his influence to book the fight, he replied, "I actually helped him before, and you see what Henry did to him. If he wants it, then UFC have to make it happen." Aljo also reacted to Cejudo versus Cruz on social media, saying, "I'm here for it. Full camps will make this equal on both sides this time. Not an excuse for Dom, but as a fighter, I know the difference a full prep can sometimes make." Ali Abdelaziz fired back with, "Come on, Aljo, both guys had the same amount of time to prepare and the same notice. It's just Henry was much better." TSN's Aaron Bronstetter also got behind the idea. "Cruz versus Aldo, please and thank you." Given that Cruz has always disputed the stoppage in he and Henry Cejudo's first fight, it sounds like fight fans would get behind this bout. Footage emerges of Ian Garry lightly sparring with Shavkat Rakhmonov before their fight at UFC 310. Here's the clip.